Hi everybody. So we're different today. I'm in my kitchen. Um, yes, my kitchen is old. My kitchen is outdated. Everything in this kitchen is painted over. um, I like my apartment, but one thing about living a vintage inspired life, I will say, when it comes to like a house or like a living space, I would like something that's kept up a little bit nicer. Like there's vintage, and then there's just like we're not gonna get into it, but you might notice some things about my kitchen that you're just like, why does it look like that? Why does it look like that? Like my fridge with the rust on it, for instance. Look, hey, get what you pay for. But nonetheless, I am going to be y'all are gonna be watching me make apple cider. You might watch me start some soup that I'm gonna make today, or a broth rather. But on this episode or this upload of Emma's Treasure Chest, I am finally going to tell you about the name of this vlog. It's gone through 3 different name changes. I think I'm gonna stick with this one. But before we get started, I'm going to do a little something fun. Referencing back to what this vlog was supposed to be back when it was being a vintage girly in this economy, and then when it became, I forgot what the second name was. I'll have it in here somewhere. Before I do that, I want to show you guys a couple of things that I found vintage inspired, not vintage, but some things that I want to share with you guys. Hold on one second. All right, so here are a couple of perfumes that I bought. I'm starting to get into perfume a little bit. I started buying more perfume, or I bought a bottle of perfume like 2 years ago, I think, because perfume was never really my thing. I was always into like body spray or fragrant oils. I still prefer perfumed oils because they're a little bit healthier for you, but nothing wrong with wanting to have a little extra to smell little extra nice. So this is called Gold Marshmallow. So I've realized that I kind of lean towards sweet, fruity scents. Amber, I like amber. I got this from TJ Maxx. It was not on sale, but it was $12.99. Still got the label on it, the little price tag. Smells good. Golden marshmallow smells like Christmas. Smells like fall. Nice little Art Nouveau design. I don't. So apparently, this is from a company called True Fragrance Beauty. I tried to look them up and I couldn't quite find. Like, I found the website. I don't. I think they're the, what's the word? They pretty much are like a marketing or branding company for different beauty brands. I guess, I think. And I think that this perfume used to be sold by Anthropologie and is either no longer being sold anymore, or it's discontinued, or they've changed the name of it, because I couldn't find. It's just called Golden Marshmallow. I'm like, okay, so what's the name of the actual company? But I really love this one because when I was a kid, we used to have a Christmas train. We would put it out on the table, and the train used to blow out smoke. And when I sprayed this perfume, so the smoke had like a sweet, wintry marshmallow, a hint of pine, not pine. What's a sweeter tree? I can't quite describe it, but like a earthy. It had like an earthy scent, but like a sweet. And then I also have this. This is also from that same company, True Fragrance and Beauty LLC. This is Jasmine and Cashmere. I like this bottle. Again, very vintage inspired vibe. I have not looked up information on this, but I have a feeling this was also probably sold by like Anthropologie or something like that. It's some discontinued brand. Um, this was $16.99. Also got this at TJ Maxx. So just some little cute things that I bought, vintage inspired things. So let's go ahead and get to the actual purpose of this video. Alright, I'm going to start on my apple cider. I'm going to wash my hands first. I know y'all are probably wondering why I got this big sweater on. I'm going to take it off, but I'm not even going to say why I had it on. I'm not even going to say. So, Emma's treasure chest. So, last week, Veterans Day would have been my grandma Emma's 77th birthday. My grandma died of cancer in 2018. 2017, 2018 were pretty rough years for me, for my family. These are Gala apples. I'm just making enough just for myself. Gala, and Granny Smith. I lost and I talked about this in the last upload, but my grandma died September 2018, and I'm trying to find my So, in most cases, generally speaking, I think it's safe to say that most people tend to be closer to their mom's mom than their dad's mom. My grandma Emma was my dad's mom. I was pretty close to her. We were close. I was closer to my grandma. I went everywhere with my grandma. My grandma was pretty much my second mom, honestly. And y'all, I'm trying to find my apple cutter, cause got it. So, I was with my maternal grandmother all the time, but my dad's mom, she spoiled us, especially around Christmas time. She always got us the best toys, the best dolls, and then when we got a little bit older, this is where we get into the name of the vlog. When we got older, my grandma, of course, when kids get older, you don't know what they like anymore. You don't know what to get them anymore. So my grandma had this treasure chest, or this trunk. And she would go to certain stores and she would buy things. Nothing she ever needed, just stuff that she wanted, stuff that she thought looked nice. Or stuff that she thought was cool. And it's so funny getting older. My grandma was very eccentric. She wasn't a conventional person at all. And I say conventional as opposed to traditional, because she had a traditional approach to a lot of things. So like, she didn't drive. If she needed, everywhere she went, she either took the bus or she mainly walked. She walked a lot of places. But she didn't drive. She paid for everything in cash. She was like that. But I think that's what makes her conventional. Not conventional, eccentric, different, because, everybody drives now. Nobody most people drive, Most people aspire to drive. She had no aspiration to drive at all. That was not her thing, and that's how her mom was. That's how my great-grandma was. She drove everywhere. She walked places and she took the bus. But anyway, my grandma used to go to the store and she would buy things mainly on clearance. Fun stuff, cute stuff, weird stuff. And she would just put it into her chest, her trunk. And when Christmas time came around, she just let us go in and grab whatever we wanted. And to me, I'm like, it's so funny getting older. I eventually started doing that when I started working full time. When I got a bit older, I started doing that with my little cousins, because I bought I bought gifts for my little cousins for Christmas. And I would kind of do that. I would say 1 year I did that, where I was just like, all right, they're getting older. I don't know what they want anymore. I don't know what they like. I'm just going to buy a bucket of things and just let them pick from it. But yeah, that's mainly the inspiration behind the name of this vlog. Um, but she also had a lot of other things in there. She had, matter of fact, she actually had two trunks. She had a big one that she put all types of stuff in. Low key, you might say she might have been a bit of a hoarder, a little bit. And then she had another trunk that she would keep keepsakes in, like photos, family photos, and stuff like that. But the reason it's so significant to me now is because, of course, as a kid, it was always funny the fact that my grandma doesn't know what I like anymore, or doesn't know what me and my sister like anymore, so she just buys stuff on clearance and on sale throughout the year, puts it in a trunk, and then just waits for us to come grab it. And it wasn't necessarily just the trunk that we got stuff. Sometimes she actually did like buy special things for us. Sometimes. And sometimes she would just give us stuff. And now the reason that has become so significant and important to me is because sometimes I look around my apartment and I realize I have so much stuff from my grandma that at the time it did not seem like that big of a deal. It's just like, okay, my grandma got this for me. But now that she's gone, it's like a lot of stuff in here, not just like frivolous or stuff that I don't need. Stuff that I use came from her. Like, I'm gonna make my soup in a crock pot. This was her crock pot. I didn't inherit this when she passed away. I didn't take it when she passed away. She gave it to me. She gave it to me when I went to college. And of course at the time it's just like, okay, now I have a crock pot. But now it's like, I have my grandma's crock pot. And I told myself I was not going to do this. And then other little things. These salt and pepper shakers, I brought these up, or I showed these off in the very first episode when this was being a vintage girly. These were hers. These were something that she gave me because, no, she gave them to my mom, actually. She actually gave them to my mom. And my mom was just like, she took them, but she was just like, I don't have anything to use. Like, I have salt and pepper shakers, you know. I don't need an extra pair. And then there are things in my living room. Simple things, like little sculptures and things. Stuff that I didn't think that I would need or ever use or find to be significant, I now have them. All because she had this big trunk of things that she did not want, did not use. She just bought it because she didn't know what to buy us for Christmas and just gave us an opportunity to go in and grab these things. Let me show y'all one more thing. I still get kind of choked up at this. So I actually took this after my grandma passed away. I drew this picture of her. I don't know what year. It's a picture of her holding a vacuum because that was her thing. My grandma was very, very super neat. Everything in her apartment was immaculate. Not a piece of dust, a speck of dust, dirt, nothing. Even when we were over, whenever we were at her house, she was always finding something to clean. And I did not know that she had this. It must have been in her bedroom. She always lived in apartments when I was growing up, so I never really had, like, of course I had been in her bedroom before, but I never, thought to, like look around, like her room or anything like that. So she had a pretty small space, so, I don't know what I'm saying. But basically, long story short, I just did not know that she had this. And she framed it. So when I was going through when we were going through her stuff after she passed, I couldn't believe that she saw this to be so significant that she framed it. And she kept it. And it's in my book. I have a bookcase, mid-century bookcase that I keep it in. It means so much to me. And it's just like, again, things that you don't think are significant to someone that you give to someone or that you take from someone. It's just like, okay, they just gave me this thing or I gave them this small thing. And then when they're gone, it just means so much. And that's why I've moved into this space of now. Now discussing vintage things, vintage inspiration, vintage love. It doesn't necessarily mean things that are inaccessible to me anymore. Like, expensive furniture and decor, or it doesn't necessarily just mean Hollywood inspired or things like that. It's become a connection to family for me, and a connection to or an opportunity to acknowledge who they were, where they were, and how their lives shaped mine and made it so that I can do the things that I do, and also I can pull inspiration from the stories that they told me, the way that they live. I mean, isn't that really part of what life is? We don't necessarily know, the purpose of life or why we're here, but I think everybody has their own individual purpose. We will never have like a specific answer to what life is or why we're here. I think the goal is to find out what is important to us and what our own purpose is. And I think one of my purposes for being here is to keep history or parts of history that are important to me, to help keep those alive. And I also think that a goal for all of us that do know our families, because I know some of us are adopted or some of us don't necessarily communicate or deal with our biological families. I think another big thing is another reason that we're here, and another way to go about life is to basically teach our descendants how to live and teach them how not to live. For example, this is my own recipe for apple cider. I'm not using like a family member's recipe, but it's my hope that if I have kids, my kids will use this recipe when they want to make apple cider, or not even a recipe. Use my method, because I don't have a recipe. I just do. But the reason I am making apple cider today is because I know it's a autumn drink. It's starting to get cold, and I know it's gonna last me for a bit. I'm making my own because I know what I like and I know how I want mine to taste, or how I want mine to taste. And that's how our people used to do it before, you know. I think people are always saying like, oh, we're losing recipes, like oh, we're losing recipes, people aren't cooking anymore, blah, blah, or we're losing recipes because people aren't cooking anymore. One, I don't think that's true. I think the reason recipes are becoming passé is because because everybody's recipe is accessible to everyone. It's not that we're losing recipes, it's like family recipes are no longer becoming significant because, again, we now have access to everyone's recipe, to whatever it is that we want. So there's nothing special about the things that we make anymore, generally speaking. And I've kind of moved away from my grandma a little bit. But I mean, I came to this point just to highlight the fact, one, just to tell y'all the name, the story behind the name of this vlog, but also to tie it all back into recognizing ancestors in my approach to vintage love, vintage inspiration, vintage life, or vintage inspired life. Everything it's becoming very ancestral based for me, because I know my great grandparents weren't going to the store to buy. Me, I'm very much, well, I'm coming out of that, but, and I see why. Even when stores and things became mass produced and readily available, I still had a lot of family members who made everything from scratch. And I didn't understand it when I was a kid. I'm just like, why don't you just use a box of this or a box of that? And I get it now. There's something more personal about using the thing or making things from scratch, but then it's also, you have an eye for what you're using and how much you're using and how much you're going to produce when you produce something your own or produce something on your own. But anyway, like I said, I have no recipe for this, but Granny Smith apples are my favorite apples. I am going to, yes ma'am, what you need? My dog hears me talking, so she thinks I'm talking to someone, so she's about to ease her way into this kitchen. So I'm gonna use these, whatever is left. Like, I don't keep them inside of the cider. I scoop them out and I use it as applesauce. That's another thing. You make apple cider, you can make applesauce with the apple cider. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use some fresher ingredients. I am going to put in some cinnamon sticks. I usually use ground cinnamon, but I've got these. I'm not going to let them go to waste. This is from a store in Carytown, Richmond, Virginia, called, you can't really see it because I don't have good lighting in here, the Spice and Tea Exchange. Hold on one second. Go sit down. Thank you. Go sit down. There's nothing in there. There's no food in there. Go sit down. Go sit down. I'm getting this I got this from the Spice and Tea Exchange. I'm not gonna break off a piece because then that's gonna like leave little leaves in there. I'm just gonna go ahead and put a whole stick in. Alright, so a stick of cinnamon. So I use cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, and I use a hint of orange juice, and I use honey. And brown sugar. I'll get to it. See, this is probably why I need a recipe. Alright, so I got my cinnamon in. I got some ground cloves. I'll go ahead and use ground cloves. So, I'm going to sprinkle, because clove is not the strongest thing that I want to taste. I love clove, but do a little sprinkle. You still got to kind of do it a little liberally so it can kind of soak in. But for me, clove is more so for the scent. I prefer to taste the apple, and I prefer to taste the cinnamon in my apple cider. We got nutmeg. Also from the Spice and Tea Exchange. I'm going to go ahead and do just a little dash. That's not like I said, cinnamon and the actual apple is what I really want to taste. Brown sugar. I'm going to use dark brown sugar. I'm going to use, I'll go ahead and measure this out. I'll go ahead and, like I said, I don't have measurements, but this is an 1/8 cup. I'll go ahead and do a 1/4 cup. of brown sugar. So I prefer using local honey and pretty much anything that I make that requires honey. So I'm just gonna do a little. Y'all really can't even see me putting stuff in here. Let's go and do a little drizzle. But honey has gotten expensive. Like out of nowhere, it's gotten expensive. Like even the like the cheap bottles, the little bear bottles, they're like $6 now. 4 to 6, ranging from $4.99 to like $6.99. I'm like, what's happening right now? Orange. So I've got an orange. I'm not going to use too much. I'm going to use orange and lemon. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and squeeze them together, actually. I use a hint of that. Like very, very, very subtle addition to my apple cider. I'm going to cut orange in half. And then I got lemons. I got lemons back here, actually. So, a little bit more about my grandma. Like I said, my grandma was what I would call an eccentric person. She pretty much did everything the way she wanted to. And I even said that about her when she passed. And I shared it on social media. Because when she passed, she was given, when she went to hospice, she was given 2 days. 3 days, I think. And she was still here for like a week and a half. So I always said, I'm just like, she was going to do what she wanted to do. Like, if you tell her we're giving you a week, she's going to like, okay, a month, bet, got you. Gonna do a little squeeze of orange juice. It's hard to get juice out of an orange too. Well, not hard, but it's like you pretty much feel like you're squishing everything out of an orange, and then it's like you still get like this much of orange juice. All right, I'm gonna do a tiny bit of lemon juice, very tiny bit, and I'm gonna pour some in. So what I like to do is I'll stir it around. But yeah, she went wherever she wanted to go, when she wanted to go. She walked everywhere. She didn't go out much. She liked staying in the house. Same. Very me. And she was one of 4 children. She was the youngest of 4 children. Yeah, you want to mix it up a little bit. Get it all been mixed up in there, smashed up in there. Make sure you take like the little leaf pieces off the apples too. I didn't get all of those. Let me do that right now. And I mean, no particular reason. I just don't like them, but I think it's just best to remove them. Anyway, that part that's like kind of stuck to the core. She didn't like leaving the house much. She was the youngest of 4 children. I'm trying not to give out too much information because here's why. She also was very anti-internet, very anti-social media. She had cable, but she never had a cell phone. She never had social media, internet, none of that stuff. She was not fooled with it. And this is what this looks like. I'm trying to figure out how to. Okay. I might be able to brighten this when I edit it. She had, so yeah, I'm trying not to talk about her too much because I can just see her up there being like, why are you telling all my business to these people on the internet? But, oh, I forgot, I just got Another thing, I try not to. I'm not a too much of a snob when it comes to water, but I do have a thing against tap water. So, especially where I live. Oh, and you know what? I'm about to use this water that has the filter in it, and I forgot I couldn't put a filter in here because I bought some filters a couple of months ago, and I just opened the box today to put one in because I got all my bottled. I use bottled water when I like cook like veggies and fruit and things like that. I got opened the daggone filter up. All of them were open and used. I'm like, I don't even have a receipt. I can't even get my money back for this. So I'm about to use this because it has a filter in it. Is not even any point because this is still just tap water. But anyway, I'll just use it anyway. So I fill it just enough. I'm gonna put this in the sink for right now. Just enough to cover the apples. And then what I do if the water starts evaporating, I like slowly add more in. And then I'll also add more seasoning in as I do that too. And you know what? I'm gonna add a little tiny bit more clove. I keep saying a little tiny bit, but then I'm like shaking the whole bottle. Because the thing about apple cider is like the apples kind of soak up the ingredients that you're putting in. So sometimes you gotta kind of be like a little liberal with the things that you wanted. And with that, I'm gonna add a little bit more brown sugar too. But anyway, my grandma was the mother of 4 boys. My father being the oldest. Did not know my grandpa. I'm gonna leave that where it is. I'm not even gonna get into that. Mother of 4 boys. Like I said, she would have been 77 this year, so she was 71. Go. Can't count all of a sudden. Yeah. She was 70 going on 71 when she passed away. Richmond. She was born in a nearby county. Because you know what, Virginia, we don't have cities inside of our counties. We have counties inside of our cities, which I've never understood that. But she was born in a nearby county, but raised in the city of Richmond. Jackson Ward, Richmond, historic district in the city. Used to be known as the Harlem of the South. One of many Black Wall Streets throughout the country. She was raised there. Her children were raised there, and yeah, my dad was the oldest of her children. She was a teenager when she had him, and I'm gonna start cooking this at like a medium level. I'm gonna put it on like a 5 for now. And what was I saying? Born and raised in Jackson Ward, or not born in Jackson Ward, but raised in Jackson Ward. Had 4 boys, lived there most of her life. And it made sense for her to pretty much kind of walk everywhere, because because Jackson Ward is like close to the city. It's like on the edge of downtown. So it made sense for her to just like walk everywhere or take the bus places instead of getting in a car and driving a few blocks away to go do this thing or that thing. She was a Scorpio, and she was all that a Scorpio entails. She wasn't someone who had she wasn't a flashy person. At least growing up when I was a kid, like growing up as her grandchild, she wasn't particularly a flashy person. Like I said, she liked to buy little knickknacks and things, but in terms of like style and decor, everything was, I can't even say simple. She had like a quirky I'm chuckling because like I'm correlating. I'm finding the correlation into. So like this thing that I have, this thing is not the most extravagant thing in the world, but this is something that she would have owned. This is something that I got it specifically because I wanted that. Well, that's why people buy decorations, because they want decorations. But she would have owned something like this. And the thing is, though, she probably would have given it away within like 2 years. That was the thing about her. She wasn't like, I always associate like that Scorpio energy with like being not necessarily flashy, but very into what's current, but at the same time establishing their own thing, their own vibe, their own style. So she was very much that person, but she was very into she was very reserved. So she had her own thing, she did her own thing, but she kept to herself. And like I said, what else can I say about her? Funny. Sometimes she would say things that would make me go like, now why would you say that? Generous. Typical grandma. She was somewhat of a, what's the word? Can't think of the word. When you're like a paradox. I think that's the word I'm thinking of. She was that person where she wasn't the grandma who was gonna stay home and bake cookies for you, like just because. But she was the grandma who would, if she was in the mood to bake cookies, she would bake 12 pans of it and then make you eat it. Like, she was that type of person. Like, she didn't like have, a spread of pancakes, bacon, eggs, grits, and orange juice from scratch on the table. She was the grandma who, like, she would make you, and this actually happened before. She would make you pancakes and bacon for breakfast, and that would be it. It's like, okay, this is cool, I'll eat it. And then literally 30 minutes later, she would like, you want something else to eat? And she's just like, okay, if you want it, and you would say no, and she was like, okay, like, don't ask me if you don't want anything. I mean, if you want something, don't ask me because I just asked you. And it's like, okay, I don't want anything. But then another 30 minutes later, she's like, do you want a snack? Do you want something? It's like, grandma, I just ate like an hour ago. Like, I'm fine. She was very contradictory. Like her personality kind of, she was multidimensional. She was very human. She didn't see, like, my maternal grandma, she's the one who does the big meals. She'll cook stuff that you didn't ask for, and then she'll bring it to you. She does stuff from scratch. When she makes breakfast, she has the pancakes, she has oatmeal, she has bacon, she has eggs, she has all this stuff available, and then she'll let you eat it and she'll let it sit, and then she'll start making lunch, and then she'll have lunch could be a sandwich, it could be potato chips, sandwich and potato chips, soda, juice, whatever it is, some other a little cake, snack cake. She'll let you eat it. She'll let it settle. Then dinner time comes and she does, like, she's that. Whereas my grandma is just like, she might cook twice a day, and then she'll like make little small things. I'm not even say cook twice a day. She'll cook you a small meal, and then she'll keep asking you if you want more food. Like, she was very, I can't even put it into words, some of the stuff. But what else can I say? So she was born in the late 40s, so she was a child of the 60s. I don't know much about her life when she was young. I do know that she was a mom, so she was a young mom. So her sister, my aunt Nat, she passed away this year, so she was the last of her siblings. My aunt Nat and my grandma Emma, they were the babies. they were born in the 40s, and their two older siblings were born in the 30s, late 20s, early 30s, I believe. So they were the 60s kids. So my aunt, she was the flower child. She was the going out, and I think my grandma was probably a part of that a little bit. She probably went out a little bit, but I know for certain that my aunt was the going to the club, going to the parties, got the boyfriends, playing the lottery, smoking. Like, she was that girl. And my grandma was just always more, as much as I knew about her and I've been told about her, I believe she was probably more so the like, I'm gonna have a little fun, but I'm not gonna do too much, you know. Generous, and she could be very firm. She was firm in that quiet way, where you would kind of do things or do something, and this rarely happened with us. Like, this didn't this rarely happened. Like, I've rarely had that interaction, but there were a few times where I might have said or done something that was a little, not so good, and she would kind of be like, is that the way that you want to do that? Or is that, she would kind of question it. So in the way she would question it would make you kind of go like, are you telling me that I shouldn't do this? The way she's influenced me, like I said, I'm just constantly surrounded by her influence. I'm constantly surrounded by material. Like, she lives in the material things that I own, as well as she lives in me, like in my blood. Like, her blood runs through my veins. But it's funny talking about her out loud, and this happens quite often where I'll say things or talk about things that she does, and I'm recognizing that I do some of the same things. Even the apartment that I live in, this apartment was built in the late 60s. I look up stuff like that. And my apartment looks exactly like the last apartment she lived in. And, well, not exactly, but like the layout is very similar. So when I first moved into this apartment, I actually laughed when I noticed like this looks exactly like her apartment. And I too like staying home, but I think I get that from my mom more so than my grandma. Like I said, I like we used to kind of make fun or take little jabs, like saying that, oh, she was a hoarder, she keeps everything, she doesn't throw anything away. Then I started doing it, but then I also started realizing a lot of the stuff that she has or had that she kept were like I said, they're significant. She knew that they were going to be, I don't know if she knew this, but I've learned that they are of some significance. Like, as time passes, memories are attached to those things. I'm trying to think. I'm almost certain I can look in here and find something else that she owned, and that I just took okay, look, yeah, I don't mind taking this. You want this? Yeah, I'll take it. Don't matter. And now I'm just I have this thing. I use this thing. But yeah, I'm not gonna hold y'all much longer. My cider is starting to bubble a little tiny bit. I can hear it. So once it's done to my liking, what I'll do is, like I said, I'll let the apples cook a tiny bit. And then I don't want them to cook completely, so I'll eventually turn everything off, and then I'll scoop the apples out. If some of the mashed up skin is still in there, that's fine, but I try to scoop out as much as I can. I use that for applesauce, and then I strain this, what I've cooked this mixture, and I'll put it in a jar or something like that. So today y'all have learned what Emma's treasure chest is all about. Like I'm telling you, she had one small chest that had the pictures and things like that, and then she had a huge one. It was like a trunk. She had a huge one that had just, like I said, stuff that she collected throughout the year, from roses, from, I don't even think she ever really went to Walmart, but stores like those old school department stores, or not old school, but older department stores like Roses, Maxway, all that stuff. And then I think she would go to thrift stores, but Me and her had something in common. We both like I go to thrift stores occasionally. I like going to the stores, but I do not like going into thrift stores that do not dust. I hate it so much. And she was like, and it was so funny because I like hated it so much, but I never talked about it or said it to anyone. And I was having a conversation with her one day about a thrift store that was in our neighborhood, because we both live in the same part of town, like in the later part of her life. And and I was just like, no, she was like, I don't like going to that thrift store because they don't have a dust in it. And I was like, yes, they don't. Like, yes, you get me. Somebody gets me. But, yeah, so thank y'all for tuning in. Y'all won't be seeing me make soup, but, whatever. That's my apple cider. I guess I should make a recipe if y'all are interested. Let me know. I'm not like the most trusted cook in the world. I wouldn't trust me as a cook, but I like sharing stuff. So thank y'all so much for watching this episode. It's November, so it's monthly now. It's not bi-weekly anymore because I could not keep up with that. As y'all could probably see. So it's back to monthly. Thank y'all for tuning in to the November episode of Emma's Treasure Chest. Happy heavenly birthday to my grandma Emma. And I will see y'all in December. Ooh, I wonder what I'm going to do for December. I don't know yet. Y'all subscribe and wait and see. Bye.